You remember the feeling. You're lying in bed at 11 p.m. You realize you need something, a birthday gift, a replacement charger. You open your phone, find it on Amazon, and you see those 4 words that redefined modern life. Arrives tomorrow by 8 p.m. You click, you sleep. It's there when you wake up. For more than a decade, that was the invisible miracle of American life. We didn't think about container ships. We didn't think about oil tankers navigating hostile waters. We didn't think about the 17 separate countries a single iPhone passes through before it lands in your hands. We just clicked. But here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. That world is gone. Not slowing down. Not glitching. Gone. It disappeared because the specific, fragile geopolitical arrangement that made it possible has been shattered by war. Today, we are going to walk through exactly what happened, why it happened, and what it means for you, the average American family. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will never look at a shipping notification the same way again. To understand how badly things have broken, you have to first understand how extraordinarily well things used to work. Let's rewind to 2005. What Amazon actually did was make a radical bet, not just on technology, but on the permanence of cheap global shipping. A factory in Shenzhen, China manufactures a Bluetooth speaker. That speaker is loaded into a shipping container on a single vessel. That vessel sails through the South China Sea, past Singapore, across the Indian Ocean, through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, and into the Suez Canal. This was not magic. This was the most precisely engineered logistics network in history, running on the assumption that oceans would remain open. Find the Red Sea on a map. It's that long, narrow body of water. At its southern end, there's a strait called the Bab el-Mandeb in Arabic, that literally translates to Gate of Grief. That name turned out to be prophetic. The strait is about 18 miles wide. Through those 18 miles passes 12% of all global trade and 30% of all container ship traffic on Earth. Now imagine what happens when that corridor becomes a war zone. Shipping companies had a choice: risk the vessel or go around Africa. One by one, they chose Africa. Giants like Maersk and MSC began rerouting every single ship around the Cape of Good Hope going around Africa. That's an extra 3,500 miles and an extra 14 to 21 days per voyage. But time isn't the only cost. A single rerouted voyage now costs shipping companies an additional $2 to $3 million in fuel alone. Every single one of those extra costs gets passed on to the retailer, to the store, to you. That mysterious shipping surcharge appearing at your checkout. That's a missile fired in the Red Sea. Now, at this point, some of you are thinking what every business executive thought when the Red Sea crisis began. Fine, we'll just fly it. This is what I call the air freight fallacy, and it's one of the most expensive misconceptions in modern logistics. Yes, air freight exists. Yes, air freight exists. Yes, it's faster. But let me explain why it cannot and will not save the supply chain. First, let's talk about scale. The world's entire air cargo fleet can carry roughly 60 million metric tons of goods per year, but global shipping by sea moves roughly 11 billion metric tons per year. That's not a gap, that's an abyss. Air freight could never replace ocean shipping, even if every plane on Earth flew cargo 24 hours a day. But let's say you don't need to replace everything, just the high value, time-sensitive stuff: electronics, pharmaceuticals, auto parts. When conflict escalates in the Middle East, the airspace doesn't just get dangerous, it gets closed. Iraq, Iran, parts of the Gulf, these become black zones. Aircraft are rerouted hundreds of miles. A flight from Vietnam to the US now has to arc far north over Central Asia and Siberia. That adds hours to flight time, which means more fuel, which means higher costs. And the third problem: jet fuel. In the current environment, shipping a laptop by air from Vietnam to Kentucky now costs nearly half the retail value of the laptop itself. For the past 40 years, the American economy has been organized around a philosophy called just-in-time manufacturing and supply chain management. The idea was elegant: don't hold inventory. Trust the supply chain to deliver exactly what you need, exactly when you need it. Toyota perfected it. Then every American manufacturer copied it. The result was spectacular efficiency. Companies slashed costs. Consumers got lower prices. But just-in-time is built entirely on the assumption that the supply chain never fails, not rarely fails, never fails. When transit times go from 4 weeks to 7, or a specialized component gets stuck on a container drifting past Madagascar, the system breaks. Consider the American automotive industry. A modern car has over 30,000 individual components sourced from across 14 different countries. If one small electronic sensor is stuck on a delayed ship, the entire assembly line stops. Millions of dollars evaporate per day. Walk into your pharmacy. Notice certain medications are on back-order: blood pressure meds, antibiotics, and insulin supplies. Walk into your grocery store. Notice the gaps. Notice when your favorite item has been replaced by a similar product you've never heard of. Amazon's predictive algorithm is now producing phantom delivery estimates. It never learned to account for drone strikes. For years, free shipping was the crown jewel. It became an expectation so deeply embedded that charging for it felt like a moral failing. That era is over. What's replacing it is a tiered system of shipping costs that functions more like a luxury tax on speed. And there's the new addition to every checkout page: the War Surcharge. Sometimes it's labeled a global freight surcharge. When it costs $50 to ship a toaster from overseas, something interesting happens to the toaster sitting on the shelf at your local store for the first time in decades. Buying local isn't just an ethical choice. It's the economically rational decision. The war is forcing a localization of the American economy that no policy, no tariff, and no presidential speech ever achieved. Let me bring this all the way down to your kitchen table, because I think that's where this conversation ultimately belongs. The disruption of global supply chains isn't just an inconvenience. It's a significant financial pressure compounding with everything else you're already dealing with. The invisible price increases. Products haven't changed their sticker price but have quietly reduced their size. This is shrinkflation, and it's accelerating. Home renovation projects that took 6 weeks now take 6 months. Specific material styles, fixtures, electrical components are backordered. The cost of waiting is massive. The medicine cabinet risk. Generic medications manufactured overseas are becoming unpredictable. Talk to your doctor about maintaining a slightly larger supply of essentials. If your car needs an electronic component, be prepared to wait. Some parts are backordered for months. The repair shop isn't lying, it's genuinely unavailable. The days of waiting for Black Friday deals are gone. Retailers are warning about inventory uncertainty. If history rhymes, we will see significant shortages. The advice is simple: plan further ahead, expect higher costs, and stop assuming that the supply chain will bail you out. It doesn't live here anymore. For a generation, America exported the belief that geography didn't matter. We stopped manufacturing here because it was cheaper 12,000 miles away. We hollowed out industrial towns in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, calling it efficiency. We optimized for a world we assumed would always be stable. The shipping lanes are not guaranteed. The stability that allowed free movement across critical choke points was not permanent. It was a gift of a historical moment. Now we're paying the price. This correction might actually be the catalyst for rebuilding American manufacturing capacity. The strategic industries like semiconductors and pharmaceuticals, a revaluation of durability. When you can't get a replacement quickly, you repair things. You buy things built to last. This isn't the worst cultural shift. Preparation is power. Those who understand the global supply chain will navigate the next few years with the least amount of disruption. Audit your dependency on fast shipping. Start keeping a small buffer stock of items you usually order last minute. Get to know your local options. Hardware stores, farmers markets, and regional suppliers are now strategic assets, not just charming alternatives. Plan major purchases now. If you need an appliance or a car part, don't wait. The supply pipeline is getting longer, not shorter. The 2-day shipping era was an extraordinary moment where geography was eliminated. That window is closed now, but those who understand why it closed are prepared citizens of the new economic reality. I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe and tell me, what's the longest you've waited for a package? This is Money History, your 2026 Reckoning briefing. Stay informed. Stay ahead.